What if the one thing that you were told never to do in your entire life was the missing ingredient that would unlock every single thing that could move you towards your potential and beyond? Well, I was posed with this question this morning as I walked on my dog walk. Uh, God started talking to me, and I had been told so many times, don't do this, don't do that, don't do this thing. And it was almost as if I was afraid of that thing and I would avoid it at all costs and I would make sure that I didn't do it. But what he opened up to me, and he does it through so many different areas. Today it was through his calm voice. But this message was reiterated by my wife that she said, whenever there's an absolute, I always have the tendency to question it. So today we're going to question this absolute. In Proverbs 8, it's incredible because God calls us to do the thing that we've always been told not to do. So why don't we get this party started?
Nothing more on my mind. I got to shine, so every day I grind. Work in the morning, work in the evening. We's achieving, cause we believing. It's for certain, we put the work in. We ain't stopped just because it's hurting. Right before your eyes, so it's coming to no surprise. The takeover is televised. Over and over and over again. Make no mistake, we continue to win. Defeat never known, cause I will not lose. They wanna mimic my moves, but can't walk in my shoes.
What if the most powerful thing that we could ever do in our life was actually the thing that we were told not to do for our entire life? And I don't think that it was a bad thing. I don't think that it was people were trying to hurt us. I just think that a lot of times I take absolutes. So if somebody tells me never do this or always do this, then I think of it. And even if I don't think about it consciously, subconsciously, I have the tendency to try and apply it in every single area of my life. And I don't know if you guys do this, but I was raised by my pops who would always he would ask me the question, "Boy, have you ever seen a half pregnant woman?" And I would just laugh, and he would say, "No, boy, you're either pregnant or you're not pregnant." And he said, "You either are or you aren't." He said, make a decision, be on one side of the road, be on the other. People who stand in the middle is where people get, how you get people hurt. You get yourself hurt. And so in being raised in this mentality, when I would hear always and I would hear never, I would have the tendency to try and apply it in every area. But this morning, as I was on my dog walk and spending a little bit of time with the Lord, I was spending a little bit of time on Instagram too, and which I started the death scroll, and probably shouldn't do that in the morning, but I got caught up a little bit. But I was drawn back to a conversation with God as I'm walking Ziggy and Skylar, and he just asked, like, what if the one thing that you were told never to do was the thing that would unlock? And I got to a point, I do a little thing called morning pages, which I would suggest, I would recommend for you guys. It's 3 pages of unconscious writing right when you get up. So just clear your mind. Write about anything, no judgment. No one's going to read it. You don't have to read over it. But I find that it just really clears the mind. And if you do this for 30 days, you could see a tremendous amount. What I do is do that. So 3 pages. Just writing unconsciously. And then I go to my Inchstones journal. That's the one that we have there. The link is in the bio. The Inchstones, the vibe within. So then I read the corresponding proverb, corresponding day. So today is Proverbs 8. And then I ask myself, what verse hit my heart? What did it make me think about? And what action can I add to it today? And that's in the journal. It's a 3-month journal. And I would suggest that too, as you go through. But taking on that challenge, you'll start to see things transform. And this question was wild. What if the one thing that you were told that you should never do was the thing that was going to unlock? And as I was in my morning pages this morning, I just said, like, I give up. like I give up. Like God, I give up. I give it to you. But I was told never give up. Growing up as a kid, playing basketball, football, baseball, not at a high level at all, not very good. But I was always told never give up, never give up. Never give up on your dreams, never give up on this, never give up on that. And I I adhered to that, although spending time with my wife has told me that absolutes are where people get in trouble because they'll just apply it blindly as opposed to looking at the circumstance in the situation. And whenever I bring an absolute to my wife, like I said to her, what do you feel about the statement? The way you do one thing is the way you do everything. And she said, I always have a challenge with absolutes because there's different circumstances. There's people that are involved, all these things. So this never give up ran through my head. Although as I sat with morning pages, I just said to God, like, I give up. Like I give up and give in to your purpose, your plan, and your timing. And I give to you my life personally, professionally, spiritually, and financially. And I just dedicated that today. And I just said, I just want to give that up to you. And in Proverbs 8, it's wild because as I went through, 3,000-year-old wisdom, I always like to test things against God's word because there's times where I have a great idea or I have this thing that, is heavy on my heart. And then I test it against God's word and it doesn't hold up. And when you test something, this is what they do with science. So with science, they have a conjecture, which is an observation, and then it goes to a hypothesis. The hypothesis is then taken and it's put against a test or a trial, and that becomes a theory. And in the event that it passes a rigorous testing and it gets the same results, then it becomes a law. Right. But we have the tendency in our lives not to do this thing. And I learned that from Greg Glassman with Broken Science. You need to check him out. He's incredible. He is the founder of CrossFit. If you want to go back and listen to an episode, it's Faith versus Science. I thought it was great. I had a great time doing it, at least. And I would definitely suggest that. But when we're looking at this thing, testing things against wisdom, I think it's so very, very vital within our life. So I wanted to test this, never give up, never give up. That's what I heard. And then this morning, God was like, it's time to give up. It's time to give up and give in to my purpose, my plan, and my timing, which the last one, the timing is always the toughest because when we want something to happen, we want it to happen at that particular time. But in Proverbs 8, it calls us to give up and give in to God's purpose for our life, his plan and his timing. This sounds so simple, but it has been proven that we make it one of the toughest things in our own lives. The simplest thing, just giving in and giving up to like everything, personally, professionally, spiritually, and financially, to God's will, to his will, his purpose, his plan, his timing. That is so simple. Although we make it complicated, we make it tough because we fight it. And this morning I just told God, like, I don't want to fight it anymore. I just, and it's funny because he's probably laughing right now. God's laughing and my parents are probably laughing too. Cause it's like, I've gone through these times, but I want to invite you today. That one thing that you were told over and over again not to do might be the thing that unlocks what God has for you. And what God has for you is a lot more valuable, I find, than what we have for ourselves. So let's go through Proverbs 8 in verse 1 through 12. Wisdom and understanding are constantly, consistently, and conspicuously calling out, promising prudence, trustworthiness, righteousness, truth, justice, knowledge, instruction, discretion, of which there is no comparison. So think about that, like wisdom, which is the right use of knowledge. The beginning of all wisdom is the fear of God. The fear of God is just the respect of God. And the way that we respect something is we spend time with it. We check its words, we check its actions. They're in line, we give respect. So that respect, which was in this context, 3,000 years ago, fear was actually, the meaning of it was respect. It wasn't fear and trembling. It was fear as far as respect. So the fear of God is the beginning of all wisdom. Wisdom is the right use of knowledge. So wisdom and understanding are constantly and continuously and conspicuously calling out. And it's promising these things. Wisdom, which is the right use of knowledge, and understanding is promising. They're promising prudence, which is the thought of the future, trustworthiness, you already know what that is, righteousness, which is just doing the right thing. It's not self-righteousness, it's just doing the right thing at the right time for the right reason, and the right thing will turn out. Truth, justice, knowledge, instruction, discretion, for which there's no comparison. Imagine that. That's just, it sounds so silly not to give in to that, not to give it up. Like, I just give up and just let that happen, like wisdom and knowledge. In verse 13, the fear of God separates from evil, pride, arrogance, foolish behavior, and perverse speech. Now think of that. If we truly fear God, this was a conversation that I had with my buddy. Actually, I've had many conversations. I got to talk with Speech yesterday from Arrested Development, and we had this conversation. He's a Christian, and it was amazing to be able to have a conversation with him about his new album, Adult Contemporary Hip Hop. And if you haven't watched the episode, go back, watch the episode. It is fire. Like, he drops fire for an hour. I mean, it was, maybe it's 45 minutes, but it was unbelievable. But we talked about this. The fear of God separates from evil, pride, arrogance, foolish behavior, and perverse speech. The fear of God, meaning the respect of God. So the only way that you can respect God is that you just spend time with him. So if you spend time with him, this is the wild thing. If you'll just spend time with him, he'll give you wisdom, which is the right use of knowledge. Then he'll bring in knowledge into your life because now you know how to use it. Then he'll bring understanding, insight, discretion, discernment, discipline, strength, and he'll lead you right back to the respect of God. I mean, there's no downside to that, right? And so what we were talking about with my buddy Will, and I was talking with my buddy Greg and talking with Speech yesterday, is if you truly fear God or spend time with him, then it will separate you from evil, from pride, from arrogance, from foolish behavior, and perverse speech. Now, it doesn't mean that those won't come up, but if you truly spend time with God and you listen to him and you apply what the wisdom that he gives you, it's going to separate those. You'll want to have nothing to do with it. So again, there's no downside to it. In verse 14 through 16, insight, power, and sound judgment comes from wisdom. Like, it sounds to me like wisdom is the way to go for us to give up and give in to wisdom, which is the right use of knowledge and starts with the fear of God, right? So it just makes sense. Now, I was told never give up, like never give up. But when it comes to me trying to figure it out, when it comes to us trying to figure things out with your business, with your family, with your finance, with all those things, give up and give in to God's will, to his purpose, his plan, and his timing. And I tell you, it'll be far greater than you could ever imagine. In verse 17 through 21, the benefits of wisdom are endless. And if it already hasn't made a case for wisdom, which is the right use of knowledge and comes from the fear of God, the benefits from verse 17 through 21, and I invite you to just look at Proverbs 28 or Proverbs 8. It's unbelievable, and the wisdom and how rich it is phenomenal. In verse 21 through 31, wisdom has lasted the test of time and is built on an unshakable foundation. I said earlier that when I have an idea, I like to test it against wisdom. Like, I like to test it against wise counsel. There's sometimes where I'll have an idea, and I'll take it to my brother. I'll have an idea, I'll take it to a business partner. I'll have an idea, I'll take it to my wife. Sometimes I just take it straight to God, which is probably the best way always. But in testing these things, that's what wisdom was saying, is like, and God was saying to us, is like, I want you to test wisdom. Wisdom has lasted the test of time, 3,000 years. I'm reading principles from 3,000 years ago, and they're applicable today. And so it's built on an unshakable foundation, and it's been proven over time. It's not the newest, hottest thing. It's not the trend that is going to go. This clip probably won't go viral because I'm talking about wisdom, and that's not the new shiny thing. But I can tell you, if you want all the new shiny things, if you base your life on wisdom and the fear of God, all those shiny things you'll have if that's what God has for you. And when you'll have them in his time. And as we finish up, verse 32 through 36, seek, listen, and apply wisdom daily, and it will bless you beyond your wildest dreams. But the main part, the caveat here is daily. Wisdom is not something that we set and forget. And this is the same thing with cultures. When we were building our business and we were building our culture, people talked about it and they were like, okay, so how do you do it? And I said, well, first of all, we need to have meetings every single week. And every Tuesday we would have a meeting for an hour, and we would have it through all our locations, and all of our people would stand up in front of the whole entire company. They'd have 15 seconds to say who inspired them and why they inspired them. And then they would talk about a local business focus, a RAC, which is a random act of kindness. And they'd do this in 15 to 20 seconds. And at the height, we had 75, 85 people in our company. But these people, we did this over and over again. And the reason why we did this is because weekly meeting, and some people were like, I don't have time for, a weekly meeting, and it takes an hour, and how much money are you going to lose because of that hour each and every week? And I was just like, wow, I can't afford not to do this. And it's the same thing with wisdom in our lives. And what God is calling us to do is to seek, listen, and apply wisdom daily. It's not a set it and forget it. It's not a one-time thing. It's not going to church one time and then the rest of the week you're trying to figure it out. He's saying, come to me daily, spend 15 minutes with me. That's why I created the Inchstones journal. And the Inchstones journal takes you right through. So you have your proverb in it. You have your 3 months of journaling that's right there. What verse hit your heart? What hit your mind? And what action can you add to it today? And then you fill yourself up with wisdom. And I tell you, it has endless benefits that will bring on your wildest dreams. And most of the time, your wildest dreams, you don't even understand them, because God is working even when you don't know that he's working, and he's working on your behalf. And if you give up and give in to his will, his purpose, his plan, and his timing, it's going to be far greater than you could ever imagine. And this is where I get into challenges, is what Speech was talking about yesterday from Arrested Development, is he was talking about goal dysmorphia. A lot of times his goal was one thing, but God had a greater vision for him, but he just needed to give up and give in to God's will. And so as we finish today, is God isn't calling us to blindly follow him. That's not what he's doing. He is, however, calling us to give up trying to figure it out and give in to his will, his purpose, his plan, and his timing in our lives. Maybe giving up in this case is the best decision you can ever make. So it's been another episode of Inchstones. I appreciate you. If I saw you at Gathering, I know I got a Desert Bloom in Las Vegas, the Paul Mitchell event. My wife was featured there. I got a chance to be able to see a bunch of hairdressers. I absolutely love you guys. I love you. Thank you guys so much for tuning into the podcast. The greatest thing that you could do is, honestly, share it with a friend. Share it with a friend. Check out the Inchstones journal. It's the link is in the bio. I hope you have a phenomenal day. Check out Proverbs 8 also, and get the album Adult Contemporary Hip Hop. I promise you, it will deliver on so many different levels. Speech and Arrested Development are absolutely phenomenal. So hopefully you have a phenomenal day. My name is Kelly Cardenas, and I'm officially off the hot seat. Peace, love, and so.
Nothing more on my mind. I got two shines, so every day I grind. Work in the morning, work in the evening. We's achieving, cause we believing. It's for certain, we put the work in. We ain't stopped just because it's hurting. Right before your eyes, so it's coming to no surprise. The takeover is televised. Over and over and over again. Make no mistake, we continue to win. Defeat never known, cause I will not lose. They wanna mimic my moves, but can't walk in my shoes.